All right, so a bit of hacking went on today. Well, spoiler alert, but it's not really a hack, but regardless, we'll call it a hack for the sake of this video. But essentially, Anthropics' big old tool, or cybersecurity tool rather, Mythos, has been, well, hacked. And if you don't know who Anthropic is, if you're not in the tech space, I'll give you a brief rundown. They essentially make the AI, or they made the AI model Claude. And as you know, Claude is very integrated with stuff like Notion, and I believe it's also integrated with Obsidian, but I have to double check that one. But yeah, so they're pretty big, and so out of the three, big AI models that are being used, it's literally ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and of course, Claude. So, anyways, so Mythos has been kind of gassed up for a while to be this really insane product that's going to really push forward like the cybersecurity, field and all that. So, essentially, it getting hacked is a bit of a problem because how are you going to have cybersecurity and then you don't really, have the right security for it, or it gets breached. But anyways, let us take a look into this brief article here that I have for you. And so it says here, a group of unauthorized users have reportedly gained access to Mythos, the cybersecurity tool recently announced by Anthropic. Much has been made of Mythos and its purported power. An AI product designed for enterprise security that, in the wrong hands, could become a potent hacking tool. According to the company, now Bloomberg has reported that a private online forum, the members of which have not been publicly identified, have managed to gain access to the tool through a third-party vendor. And by the way, unfortunately, this is this private forum is literally just Discord. I hate to spoil your fun, guys, but it's just Discord. So we're investigating a report claiming unauthorized access to Claude Mythos preview through one of our third-party vendors' environments. An Anthropic spokesperson told TechCrunch the company said that so far it has found no evidence that the supposedly unauthorized activity has impacted Anthropic systems in any way. The unauthorized group tried a number of different strategies to gain access to the model, including using access enjoyed by the person who was interviewed by Bloomberg. That person is currently employed at a third-party contractor that works for Anthropic, the outlet reported. Members of the group are part of a Discord channel that seeks out information about unreleased AI models. The outlet reported the group has been using Mythos regularly since gaining access to it and provided evidence to Bloomberg in the form of screenshots and live demonstrations of the software. And essentially what ended up happening is that although they have access to it, from what's out there, they're just doing what most people do when they have a new tool. They just try whatever they can out of it. And remember that Anthropic, what they're doing is that essentially with the preview, they essentially are saying, hey, try this out, see what you get from it, so we get some data, and then we can redo it and all that. So don't take this as people broke into it. It's just like, no, one person had access to it, and that's basically it, and they gave it to some other people. Now, if you want to be wondering, okay, well, how does someone get access to this? Well, I present to you this terrible MS Paint, but this is basically how it works. So, Anthropic has like a server that they're hosting, wherever it is, and so that is where like all the AI stuff is going from. And to get to that AI, you have to have a key. And so usually this is given to, of course, third-party vendors. In this case, maybe someone might be trying to attack the system, because that happens a lot. People try to attack a lot of cybersecurity places. And of course, you do all of that. Naturally, you have your key, and then that's a laptop at the end. But so it goes laptop, or whatever system that you're using, and then kaboom, you are in. That's basically it. It's not some intense hacking situation. It's literally, oh, you have a key, come on in. And that's literally like same thing with like phishing campaigns and all that. That's, well, not the same thing, obviously, but similar principle. It's always an employee. And that's basically where we're at now. So it's pretty interesting, but naturally we gotta look into a bit of documentation, because documentation is a man's best friend in cases like this. So let's take a peek. So naturally, this document is naturally like over 200 pages long, and it's a lot of stuff in it. But I want to go towards like the assessments section. And so in the assessment section, there's like certain outlines. And I have to remind you guys that as far as we know right now, in terms of like the actual hacking that's happening or anything's been going on with the model, people haven't really done anything with it yet, because the assumption is that naturally, if you're giving out a testing version of a product or a preview, you're actually going to handicap it, or at least in the coding language, safeguards. So taking a look here, so Claude Mythos preview is the first model to solve one of these cyber ranges end to end. So in the event that end-to-end encryption is basically what the most standard. So whenever you make a call on WhatsApp, you'll see literally says end-to-end encrypted. So basically that's between you and the person you're calling, Like no one else is getting into that. And so essentially, it's been trying all of these kind of things. So, as like says, these cyber ranges are built to feature the kind of security weaknesses found in real world deployments, including outdated software configuration errors and reused credentials. So, naturally, if your password is 45678 9 apples, then it's a bit easier for Mythos to try that. And of course, Claude Mythos Preview solved a corporate network attack simulation estimated to take an expert over 10 hours. So, the claim is that would take a human ages because, mind you, whenever a cyber attack happens, there's a lot of layers to it, and you have to literally go through every possible outlook. So, next time you're at work and you get a cybersecurity course, trust me, it's a lot of work. And now, if we go down next, it says this indicates that Claude Mythos Preview is capable of conducting autonomous end-to-end cyber attacks on at least small-scale enterprise networks with a weak security posture. And that means no active defenses, minimal security monitoring, and slow response capabilities. So that basically means, if your mom and pop store has a basic website and there's some information on it and it's not really protected that much, someone's gonna go in and try to get it. But naturally, mom and pop shops don't have a lot of leverage. Then again, would a mom and pop shop have a website? Whatever. I'm kind of rambling. And now, the fourth one says here, however, Claude Mythos Preview was unable to solve another cyber range simulating an operational technology environment. In addition, in a more challenging sandbox evaluation, it failed to find any novel exploits in a properly configured sandbox with modern patches. So, from the looks of it, it seems that in terms of more modern systems or more like layers of security, this is not the best. But naturally, this is what comes with the territory, because when you have models such as these, lots of testing has to go into it, lots of training, and lots of that. So far, it actually seems kind of interesting. But regardless, still insane. So, interestingly enough, there's also like, the total results. What it says here, these results lower bound evaluation performance. So Claude Mythos previous performance continues to scale up to the token speed limit, and it is reasonable to expect that performance improvements would continue for higher token limits. So remember, whenever you use an AI, there's only a certain amount of when it talks about tokens, that's essentially how much information it's going to keep and how much information it processes and blah blah blah. But I don't want to explain tokens, but that's the short version, and hopefully it's not the worst version that I explained. But that's where we're at now. Okay, now moving along, utilizing low-level computer process in aggressive, unintended ways. So this is just talking about how it's doing other things and talking about the resources it takes to perform this kind of stuff. Because mind you, when it comes down to AI in general, it's very power intensive, and that's why every time you see a new data center, it's not exactly the most fun at all. It's not exactly going to spell out well. So it's actually interesting how they talked about using this kind of stuff. So of course, it will link down below if you want to read all 200 pages or 244. It's all yours. Anyways, so something I wanted to actually talk about was exactly what kind of safeguards that Anthropic uses, because naturally when it comes to something like this, there's a difference between hacking your grocery store and hacking a power plant. At least in my opinion, I don't know. Power plant's kind of a lot more insane. And so when it comes down to hacking, the difference between those, how does it exactly differentiate between the two? Now, I just went to Anthropics, their safeguards and their high risk cases. So you have stuff like legal, healthcare, insurance, finance, employment and housing, academic testing, accreditation and admissions, media or professional journalistic content. So in the event of something like this, I wonder, or at least the question I'm asking is, what if, what would distinguish that? So seeing that it's already baked in, and every time you have an AI, you have to put these safeguards in, because who knows what? Because I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but unguarded safe models are not exactly fun. It's at least fun for your average person. So I was wondering, how does it do that? So from what we have so far, essentially, this is like a controlled case, but regardless of the hack that went on, it still shows what it can do. And also this documentation is also public, so pretty cool. Now, something I want to point out is that this is not the only case of testing that has been done. I want to show you guys something else. And so the other thing I want to show you guys is something from Firefox, actually. So interesting what it says here. It says, amid a raging debate over the impact that the new AI models will have on cybersecurity, Mozilla said on Tuesday that its Firefox 150 browser release this week includes protections for 271 vulnerabilities identified using early access to Anthropics Mythos preview. The Firefox team says that it has taken resources and discipline to adjust to the fire hose of bugs that new AI tools can uncover, but that this big lift is necessary for the security of Mozilla's users, given that capabilities will inevitably be in attackers' hands soon. And it says also, while both Anthropic and OpenAI have announced new AI models in recent weeks that the companies say have advanced cybersecurity capabilities that could represent a turning point in how defenders and, crucially, attackers find vulnerabilities and misconfigurations in software systems. So it's more or less, kind of what we highlighted earlier, but this is an actual real case example of Firefox using it, because every time cybersecurity gets updated, people literally call it's like ethical hacking, where you'll literally attack the system to see if there's anything that's vulnerable inside of it. And so seeing that, in the case of this one, a lot of it was revealed. Now, there's a bit of an unfortunate part about this. While this tool seems pretty interesting, and I'm not really against this kind of technology, it's pretty cool. There are some nefarious purposes that it could be used for. For instance, instead of having like a cybersecurity expert, you have this system and maybe like a low-level coder or something, and they can just figure it out from there. And then if that gets out, then who knows? Even your regular Joe Schmo can probably figure out how to attack a system. At least depending on how this goes. But as it is right now, it's still in preview. And on top of that, actually, Anthropics CEO said something very, very interesting that I want to point out. Now, this article is a pain to find, so I have to reference a different video. But it says here, CEO of Anthropics said in a lunch with the Financial Times interview with the Financial Times of the UK that he estimates open source models and Chinese developers and could replicate Claude Mythos' cybersecurity abilities within 6 to 12 months. Now, in development time, okay, when it comes to developing something, 6 to 12 months is a very short amount of time. Like, very short. And it says also Mythos is Anthropic's most powerful model, never publicly released and internally classified as a national security risk due to the ability to discover zero-day software vulnerabilities. So it's a pretty powerful tool. And just to give you guys like an idea of how crazy it is, I'm going to go show you guys a little website called Hugging Face. And I'll explain it in a second, but let's take a look. So on Hugging Face is essentially where you can go and download local models for AIs, and I actually learned this off of a different YouTube video. It's actually a few of them, and I actually tried to play with one of these models. And so the cool part is, so I have Gemma 4 on my computer. It's basically just Google Gemini, but locally. But if you actually take a look at what I'm going to show you on screen right now, this is called Quen. And so as you can see here, I'm going to scroll through, like Quen has all these, like capabilities. And so when you look at these capabilities, you see, oh, it's not on par with the latest models, but it's definitely keeping up. Because mind you, latest models get updated quite often. They're always being researched and all that, and they're also very closed. But the fact that someone else could just come in and make these models and you can just host on your computer shows just how powerful this technology can be. And so, yeah, you can see why some people would be a little bit alarmed if, something like this gets hacked. But the part that I still want to go back to is 6 to 12 months is one of the most insane timelines I've ever heard. Because if you ever develop something, 6 months, 12 months, it's like nothing. Especially like some projects I've made in the past, like even like a project I made like recently, I had only like 2 months to make it, and that was stressful. I could not imagine, and I got a lot of stuff done that time. That's because I had also a lot of research. But could you imagine like longer? Could not be me. But anyways, technology is pretty cool though. Maybe I'll do a video on me messing around with some open models because there's a lot to there's a lot, but that'll be a video for another time, I'm afraid. And hopefully, and maybe in 6 to 12 months, maybe I'll see if there's like a system I can maybe experiment with. But either way, that's basically this video today. It's kind of short, but it's still really interesting to take a look at these models because I don't know about you guys, but stuff like this is always genuinely fascinating to me. And also, the AI bubble's in a really weird spot right now where you have like data centers are getting either canceled or they're getting like the extension for constructing them is not there. OpenAI is like burning through money, and I mean literally like burning through it. And even stuff places like Nvidia or even like stuff like RAM is just in a really precarious state right now. So AI is AI bubbles in a weird place, but from the looks of it, it's about to pop. But anyways, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow my social down in the description below. But yeah, I'll see you next one.